All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 213 of the Restoring Rapport podcast. My name is Seth Hensley, and I'm the host. I talk to you every week on Thursday and Sunday about the benefits of getting married young, why I think many people should consider it, and I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of that goal. And today we're going to be reviewing a video by Dr. John Delony. The video is entitled, Did I Rush Into My Engagement? For those of you who are unfamiliar with Dr. John, I'm going to go over a quick little sort of bio about him. My wife and I really love listening to Dr. John. He has a lot of really entertaining videos, but not just entertaining. He basically what he does is he has a call show where people will call in and present some kind of problem or life issue they're having. By the way, I have a cough today, and so I didn't skip recording because it's a discipline for me. But if I break down into coughing throughout this episode, you'll know why. So you've been warned. So take that into consideration and bear with me. But he's the author of many books. As you could probably guess, he is a doctor, I think, in either marriage and family therapy, or I don't actually know what his PhD is in. Let's see if I can find it here. You can see on your screen with me if you're watching on YouTube or subscribe to the show. He is the host of a show by the Ramsey. He works for the Ramseys, Dave Ramsey, with his Financial Peace University, but he has kind of the relational side. Dave Ramsey's kind of given Dr. John the relational side. So people will call in with relational questions to Dr. John, and they'll call in with money questions to Dave Ramsey. As you can see, he's written several books here: Building a Non-Anxious Life, Own Your Past, Change Your Future, Defining Anxiety. So he's done a lot of writing, and he does, I don't even know how many YouTube videos of call-in shows, people talking to him about the problems they're having, and he helps them as best he can. And what I really like about him is he is good at sitting and listening to people and not getting angry at the problems that they, introduce to him. I would get angry at the people who are presenting these problems sometimes because I disagree with them, and he's really good, or I think that they've made mistakes, and I'm emotionally invested too much, basically, and my emotions get involved. If I were to try and give somebody advice like this, and he does a really good job of staying detached and not letting his emotions come up and shut down the conversation or impede his ability to help this person. So that's really impressive that he does that. And so I'm going to review a video today entitled, Did I Rush Into My Engagement? And this is a video that just naturally, we talk about engagement a lot on the show naturally as a podcast for young believers who are trying to get married, but my sister-in-law is actually getting married today. And so I'm going to go do their wedding right after I record this. But I just wanted to review this because engagement is kind of becoming, like many things in culture, a word without a definition, or a word that means something that means many different things instead of what it was originally intended to mean. And an engagement, in my opinion, is something that is designed to last. It is a promise to another person to spend the rest of his or her life, to spend the rest of your lives together in a romantic context, but not just a romantic context, a covenant marriage context. And let me just look up engagement definition, because a lot of people today, it's just good to define your terms. An engagement definition is, number one, a formal agreement to get married. And that is, I would say, the correct definition. And this is, when I say engagement, this is what I mean. It's when two people actually say, okay, we're getting married, and we're not bailing. And it just kind of goes back to meaning what you say and saying what you mean. Like, don't say you're going to get married if you can't. Don't say you're going to get married if there are things that you don't know that would, impede your ability to get married. You need to know everything you need to know in order to marry somebody before you become engaged, that kind of thing. Because the problem that I'm running into a lot of times nowadays is people saying, we're engaged, and then they're breaking off their engagement. It's basically it's kind of like a divorce. It's saying I'm going to marry you and then not following through with what you said. And the issue with that is people, once you've communicated your intention to marry somebody, they're all in, and their emotions are totally invested. And so if you withdraw from that, there's a huge emotional toll that is taken on the other person. And so but there are complicated situations that can arise. For example, what if you find out that the person you're engaged to is a serial cheater? I mean, then it really makes things hard. I mean, as you guys might imagine. So I don't know. We're just going to get into today not only what engagement is, but whether or not they should be broken, whether or not you can rush into them. And we're going to kind of review this conversation between Dr. John and this person calling in. So let's see what he has to say first.
All right, let's go out to, down the street, Nashville. Oh, this is Carly. I've been wanting to talk to Carly. Carly?
Yes.
I've been wanting to talk to you. We were scheduled to talk right before the snowpocalypse out here. And we need to figure this out, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I know. It kind of snowed us in, didn't it?
Okay, so listen. I get like a couple of lines of a call. That's it. I don't get like I don't ever hear the message, or I don't ever get like the full thing people write in. But the couple of lines I got in anticipation of our call was amazing. And then I wasn't able to talk to you. And so now you went through with it, and I can't wait to hear where everything is. All right, so bring us all up to speed.
Broke up with a long-time boyfriend after 10 years and immediately found someone, met online. We had this connection that was just amazing. For me, being a Christian,
it was an AOL dial-up connection. That's what it was. But go ahead. All right. It was an amazing...
right away, I'm just wondering if this person that she broke up with was somebody she was engaged to, or somebody she was married to, or somebody she was dating. Like, what was the relationship there? Personally, I don't think it's ideal, and I think it could even be wrong. And oftentimes it is wrong to end any of those. And I think sometimes it's always wrong to end some of those. So, like, for example, it's just hard to say always, though, because they're like, you can, again, like I said, your spouse could cheat on you, or be abusive, or, do something horribly wrong. And there's a huge kind of debate there as to whether or not you should, what matters more? You saying you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person, or, this major violation of trust that has been broken. And there's this seesaw of what to do. That's a really hard situation to find yourself in. So I'm curious as to what he's going to tell this person. But she's going to ask, did she rush into her engagement with this new guy after she broke up with somebody that she'd been with for 10 years?
AT&T streaming connection. All right. So you connected, and then...
And then we decided that we're older adults, that we just wanted to get married and just move forward. Both of us being Christians, we felt that connection through the Holy Spirit, and we just knew that we were meant to be together.
Oh, no. Amazing. Okay. All right.
So his reaction right there is the reaction of 99% of the world. And so if somebody came to you and they said, yeah, I'd been in a relationship for 10 years, I ended it, and in a few weeks or months, I found somebody new and we're going to get married now, most people would try to dissuade them from that, using the reasoning that you're just rebounding, or this is not going to last. You haven't thought this through. You don't know this person well. They'll throw out all of those things. And all of those things are, one possibility, one way of explaining this. But another way of explaining this is actually that if it takes you a long time to figure out whether or not you want to be with somebody, that might be a bigger red flag than moving into a marriage quickly, in my opinion. My wife and I got married without even hitting our 6-month dating anniversary. So we met and married very, very quickly. And I really like that we did that. That I could detail some of the things that we avoided by doing that. Well, number one, when you want to be with somebody, when you're wanting to marry somebody, the goal is to try and spend as much of your life with them as possible. You're not trying to spend less of your life with them in the context of a close, or just in general. Like when we were dating, I didn't get to spend that much time with Lainey. I mean, I did, but I would go to work. I would come to her house after work. And then this is not leaving much time for my family or anything. I would just go to work. I would come to her house after work and then go home at like 10, 11 o'clock, get up early the next day, do the same thing again. So we were always saying goodbye. Our life was rife with goodbyes. We had to say goodbye to each other every day, and spend a huge portion of our days apart from one another. And so in a very practical sense, we were not spending as much time together as we could have been. Now that we're married, we spend way more time together. We wake up together, we go to bed together, we spend all our time during the day together, except when we're at work. And so it's just, I feel like you do spend more time together with somebody. And if you have a good marriage and you're moving towards a good marriage, you should want to spend as much time as possible with the person you're marrying, not less. Okay, so that's one reason. Number two, if somebody can't figure out whether or not he or she wants to be with you, that's a huge red flag to me. Like, sweetheart, I know where I stand. I've talked to God. I know what I think wisdom is in the situation. I've thought about my personal commitment and investment and whether or not I can stick around for the long haul in this relationship. And I've answered all those questions in an affirmative way. And God has given me the green light. So you do the same. And if you can't do the same, I'm starting to wonder if you're really matching me in interest, investment, and commitment level into this relationship, because here I am totally invested. And if you're still figuring out whether or not you want to be with me, that's incredibly insulting. And it's just showing people who do that are advertising the fact that they are not as invested as their partner in the relationship. And guys, there's nothing that's more exhausting than being in a relationship with somebody who does not love you, care about you, and invest in you as much as you do to him or her. That is so exhausting. That is an exhausting way to live. It's got to be 100% and 100% on both parties. Okay? There's got to be, both of you have to be all out. And that's the issue. That's another, red flag with, if it's taking you a long time to figure out whether or not you want to spend your life with this person, that could be why. That one person could be not really invested all the way. Another thing that you get from a short engagement and a short dating process, and you move into marriage quickly, is it's easier to sustain a healthy sexual lifestyle that way. Personally, as a believer, I don't think there's any healthy sexual expression outside of the context of healthy married sex. And so, when you meet somebody and you're in love with somebody and you try to go 1, 2, 3 years engaged or dating before you get married, I think there's just a lot of potential for slip-ups there, and very serious slip-ups. So when you have sex with somebody, you bond on an emotional, psychosocial, spiritual level. As one marriage and family therapist that I listen to would say, Seth Studley, check him out, a licensed marriage and family therapist based out of Washington, I think. But we've had an interview with him on this show. If you want to go back and listen to that, just search in Seth Hensley, Seth Studley, Restoring Rapport interview, YouTube, and it'll pop up and you can watch it there. But anyway, he says that sex is a psychosocial, spiritual act. Him and his wife, Melanie, both say that. And it really is. And you're bonding with somebody on a really personal and intimate level whenever you have sex with somebody, whether you realize it or not. And so should that person then leave, you're going to find yourself devastated. And that's one of the hard things about, that's one of the consequences of having sex outside of marriage. There are a plethora, STDs, having children outside of your ability to support them, all that kind of stuff, tying your life to someone permanently, and then them having not committed and just bailing. All these things can pop up when you start doing that. And so, but also from a religious perspective, as I believe you are, because this is a podcast for young believers pursuing the goal of marriage and family, trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way. I would assume you've read the words of Paul that fornication is wrong. So, and fornication, by the way, if you don't know the definition of that, I always thought it was like prostitution or something, but it's actually not. It's just having sex outside of marriage. That's all it means. At least as far as the research I've been able to come up with. I've looked at the Strong's, the Greek concordance for those words in the New Testament, and I think based on the conclusions I found, we are commanded as believers to live a life without sex until we are married. And so basically getting married in a shorter period of time helps you there, because you don't have as much time to make a mistake, because obviously you want to have sex with the person you love, right? And so once they've shown you that they're totally invested and that they're never going to leave, not just with their words, but with their actions, by stepping into the covenant of marriage and commitment with you, then that's a wonderful thing. Okay, you can have sex with a free conscience and with a knowledge that your partner has gone to every possible step to communicate his or her ability to stick around with you for the rest of his or her life. And so you can't say that. You don't have that confidence outside of marriage, in my opinion. And also, I would say it's wrong. It's morally wrong, because the Scripture commands it. So there are many reasons not to do that. But and getting married young and getting married soon, and not drawing out the engagement, drawing out the dating process, makes that easier, because you don't have as much time there. So those are 3 reasons that I would say it's actually good to have a short engagement. Just to recap, you spend more time together. I think it's more conducive to a healthy sexual life. And also you should be trying to spend more of your time with your partner that rather than less. And there was one more. What was the other one that I covered just now? You spend more time together. It's more conducive to a healthy sexual life. Here's the third one. And if it's taking somebody a long time to figure out whether he or she can stick around with you, that might be a red flag. Let's continue to see what John says, though, because he had the average reaction here. When somebody tells you that they are going to get married early and that they're going to get married to somebody soon that they just met, there's usually this emotional reaction. Like, I've got to stop you. You don't know what you're doing. You haven't thought this through. That person could be dangerous. You don't know anything about them. You haven't bonded. All that crap. And again, that can be the case. Like, I don't know. Let's just get into it, because that can be the case. You can make a mistake on that end, but you can also make a mistake in postponing marriage and getting married too far in the future for the reasons I just said. So let's see what John says here.
Go ahead. And then,
so family, friends, all freaked out.
No, really?
Yeah, my friends had an intervention. Yeah, and
good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, and I know it came from a place of love. My aunt, when we told her at Thanksgiving, was absolutely no, and I had to have a strong conversation with her as well. And because she acts as my mom figure. My mom passed away about 18 years ago, so my aunt is my mom figure. And so, it's just been kind of strained, those relationships since. But far as the gentleman that I met, we did get married. I know we were supposed to talk actually right before the wedding, but we, because of the snow apocalypse, we didn't. So we did get married, and things are still just a little bit weird with the friends and family, but things are off to a great start.
What's his?
Oh, listen to this.
Middle name.
Wayne.
Where was he born?
Same small town as me.
Okay, and that right there, that little exchange is picture in point of what I just said. Like, people assume you can't know it. What Dr. John, I think, is trying to do is show her that she doesn't know anything about this man that she just married. And I can't remember how short it was. It was like a couple weeks or a month or something. And he's trying to prove that she doesn't know anything about him. And I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with Dr. John, I think, here, based on the direction he's going with this conversation. Again, my wife and I got married early. We didn't even have a 6-month dating anniversary. We started dating. We went on our first date on December 3rd, and we got engaged in, we knew we were going to get, she bought her wedding dress before I had even proposed. That's the level of confidence that this woman had that I was going to marry her, because I'd boldface advertised that fact. I proposed on May 14th. We got married July 13th. So yeah, we didn't even have a 6-month dating anniversary, because we didn't start officially dating until January 17th. And my wife and I are very careful with definitions here. Like, when I say dating, I don't mean going out on a date with somebody. That's going out on a date with somebody. When I say you're dating, that means you've sat down with her, probably her family, and had the conversation of, I'm moving towards the goal of marriage with your daughter. I'm not leaving. This is our plan. This is what I can bring to the table. These are my intentions. Do I have your blessing? Are you okay with us moving into this dating relationship? So my definition of dating is very much most people's definition of engagement. Like, I think once you actually start dating somebody, not going on dates, I want to clarify again, not going on dates, but once you enter the committed relationship with somebody, there's no backing out in a healthy way, I don't think. Now, people will then throw in what if you find out they're a serial cheater? Or what if you find out this? And then I would say, okay, I'm not going to tell you what you should do there. I don't think you should stick around in a situation where you're in physical harm, you're being physically harmed, or somebody is serially cheating on you, or there's emotional abuse like that going on. But what I will say is that you can know everything that you need to know about somebody prior to getting married before you get married. And some people will say, that's bullcrap. You don't know what you're talking about. You've only been married about 2 years. And you're going to find out something about your wife one day. They'll say that kind of thing. And I will say to that, I just say, well, I'll see you on year 36, because we're not planning on that. And we're not just not planning on it. We're intentionally not going to do that. And we intentionally already in the past discussed every deal-breaking issue that could have prevented us from staying together. And we did that before we got married. So every single issue that has the potential, that is strong enough to cause a problem in our marriage, we have discussed, my wife and I discussed prior to getting married. Okay, I knew her history, I knew her religious beliefs, I knew what she thought on serious life and political issues. I knew what her ability to stick around to something was based on not only her words, but her past experience, or past history. The best indicator of someone's future behavior is their past behavior. So if somebody has a pattern of leaving relationships and they tell you that they're never going to leave, their words and their actions are saying two different things there, and you should be careful about that. But my wife had a past of not leaving relationships, even when it was extremely hard for her. That's one reason I knew that she would not leave me. Number two, she was able to actually tell me, hey, I'm never leaving. If people cannot look you in the eye and tell you that, and you can read their honesty, then they're not committed. And so if somebody can't say that to you, you don't need to step across the line into marriage. So a lot of this issue that this woman could potentially have in the future of her marriage can be prevented if you have the right conversations prior to starting dating. And a lot of people just think that's not true. They'll say things like, it takes blank or X or Y number of years in order for you to fully know somebody, or you have to date for X or Y number of time. And I'm not going to put a timestamp on it like that. I don't think that's how it works. I think if you have the right conversations intentionally, if you're honest with one another, if you have vulnerability with one another, then it's totally possible to get married soon in a healthy way. And like I detailed earlier, there are benefits to getting married sooner rather than later. So let's see what Dr. John says here, though, and how he counsels this woman.
Oh, gross. This is like Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, we grew up probably 4 miles apart from each other as children and didn't know.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Don't you ever watch Netflix? Like, don't you watch these murder mystery things? This is how they all start.
I know, but I did his background check the second day. I mean, I went ahead, I background checked him.
No, you're the one that's going to murder him. You background checked him on day 2?
Yeah.
Okay, the background check thing is a little weird. I don't think you have to do that. I mean, if you're, I don't know. I didn't personally do that. But again, I did know the answers to all the big questions that could prove a problem in my future marriage before I started dating my wife. And we just had hard conversations up front. If you have the hard conversations up front, guys, then they don't blow up your marriage 10 years down the road. That's really what it comes down to.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, being a mental health professional, like I'm in a similar field. Okay. And so, I've already done his social, like it just even with talking with him, seeing, just for his past relationships, how that's formed his personality, his geneogram. I've already kind of connected it.
I know, but you also know, yeah, if you went to grad school, you know about confirmation bias. You also know that you're not supposed to do diagnostic testing and psychometric mapping of your loved ones because it makes you that person.
Yeah, I know. But I was trying to make sure that I was off to a good start.
No, you weren't. You were trying to make sure you had reason to justify this new powerful feeling after just... What happened in your 10-year relationship?
While he's running an ad here, I'll talk. So you can see his attitude so far is not one of warmth toward her decision to get married quick. It's actually one of skepticism and a little bit of criticism. And again, I don't think that is always the case. And I know this is true because it's my personal life experience. I would have been miserable the past 2 years had I been waiting to marry Lainey instead of being married to her for those 2 years. Now, we're going to have spent 2 years more together now, maybe 3, than I would have, had I waited to marry her for what people can say the normal period of time for marrying somebody is. At the end of my life, if you compare two people, let's compare two people. The person got married, he met his spouse, and they're going to date for 3 years and be engaged for a fourth. And then they get to the end of their life. They've spent, I don't know how many years together. Maybe like 50. They spent 50 years together, okay? Maybe 60. 60 if you're lucky. I would say 50. They've spent 50 years together. And then they've spent 50 years together, and they waited to make sure that their partner, there weren't any red flags there, or whatever the reasoning is for waiting to get married. They did that, and they spent 50 years together, and they die. The second couple meets each other, is still extremely careful, has the hard conversations, discusses the deal-breaking issues, is confident in one another's ability to stick around forever and gets married in a month, 3 months, 6 months. That person will then spend 54 years or 53 years together, assuming they live the same amount of time. So you are getting more time with your spouse if you get married sooner. And again, that's just one of the benefits that I discussed earlier, but that's a big one for me. I really, 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 really love spending time with my wife. And so I don't see how you can argue to me that I'm not prepared for marriage if I've had the important conversations. I don't see why you're discouraging me from getting married young and early and soon rather than later, you know?
Off and on for several years, he would never commit because he wanted an open relationship, and he basically wanted to go out and sleep with people outside of our relationship.
Well,
and that
duh.
was never okay.
I'm just kidding. That seems to be the cool thing these days. Which,
That's insane.
Jeez Louise.
I know.
So that's a whole other call. Maybe we should take that call one day. All right. So have you had a moment it's very real and honest and true on the 10-year relationship? Have you sat in that heartbreak yet?
Yeah.
He's suggesting that she's just rebounding in a marriage. And he's really suggesting that she hasn't processed the grief and the suffering that was produced by the failure of her last relationship. He's insinuating that she hasn't recovered from that. And that's the reason that she dove into this marriage. But guys, people don't just get married to rebound. Some people marry early because they really, 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 really love their partner. They want to spend more time with that partner rather than less. They want a healthy sexual relationship, so they're choosing the road that leads to that instead of another road. They know where each other stands. They know they're not leaving. And so there's really no reason for them to wait other than people telling them to wait, which I would say is not a good reason. Like, in my opinion, the reason you don't marry somebody early and soon instead of putting off the marriage or figuring out whether or not they're the one is because there's something you don't know about them that could potentially disrupt the relationship. There's some kind of doubt you have. There's some kind of reservation or hesitancy that you have on one party or the other, and that's what's keeping you from getting married. So let's ask ourselves the question: do we think it's the couple who knows where each other stands is healthier, or the couple who can't figure out whether or not they want to get married is healthier? To me, I think the couple who knows where one another stands and has discussed the issues necessary and is moving towards the goal of a healthy marriage, I think they're way healthier and they're in a better spot. And again, I think it is possible. Like, if you don't do it right, you can do anything wrong. You can get married young in a bad way. You know, you can get married young and you can have not discussed major issues. You can do it based on an emotion, a fleeting infatuation or a feeling. You can do it because you're rebounding or not grieving a relationship that's ended. You can do it for a million different reasons. You can do it just because you want to have sex with somebody. There are like 50 billion different reasons that you could get married young in an unhealthy way. But there's also a right way to get married young. And I would say that the right way to get married young is infinitely better than any other type of prescription for getting married. Okay? For the reasons I've listed elsewhere. You just get to spend more time with your spouse. If you know that they basically they're committed enough to say, hey, I know where I stand on this and I'm sticking around forever. I don't have to think about it. Number 3, you have a healthier sexual life, I would say. There's more time to have children. There's more time to basically enjoy your time together. Those are huge reasons to get married young. And so I think that the right way to get married young is better than any kind of other way to get married young, as long as you're getting married young the right way.
Yes.
And you probably were sitting in it for a year or two before you actually called it on the relationship. Fair?
Yeah, I was.
Or it was dead a long time ago.
Right.
Okay. Do you understand intellectually why your friends and family rushed to protect you from yourself?
I do.
Okay. All right. Like them doing, like,
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't understand that if... Okay, your friends and family know you better than anybody, right? In theory. If you have good friends and a good family, they know you better than anybody. So if they are rushing to protect you, it could mean that they don't think you are getting married young and early for the right reasons, right? And then it's good that they would do that. But if they know that you've done the work, they know that you've taken the steps you're supposed to take. Again, if I need to reiterate those, having the hard conversations early, discussing every single thing that could be a deal breaker for your marriage before you starting dating, discussing and just saying to each other, I'm never leaving. I'm sticking around for the long haul till death do us part. And I can confidently say that. And I could just look you in the eye and say that. If they've done all those things, if they've got the families involved, I mean, that's a great thing to do if you're getting married young. Get the families involved because they're going to know, they know you best, right? They're going to be able to foresee problems or maybe read your motivations, or I know they can't understand fully your motivations, but they're going to be able to, they know you best. So they're just going to be able to help you in that process. So if somebody's done all those things right, if they've gotten the family involved, had the hard conversations, spent intentional time together, and not just length time, like not just we've been dating for 4 years, like we've actually spent as many hours of every single day as we possibly can with one another together in quality time. That's really what you want. Because you can know somebody for 10 years and not know them not that well. Not if you don't have the hard conversations and you've dated somebody for 10 years, you're still just as clueless as somebody who, has only dated for 2 weeks and not had the hard conversations. Time has literally nothing to do with it. It's the conversations you're having, the vulnerability that you're expressing, the honesty that you're having with one another. That's how you get to know somebody well. And if you're taking the hard conversations early, I would say you can know somebody really, really fast. Like I knew everything I needed to know in order to marry my wife in month one. Month one of dating. So by February, I started dating her on January 17th of 2023. By February of 2023, I knew everything I needed to know about her in order to confidently say, I really, really, really want to marry you. And I'm not going to date you until you, well, I said that before, but you could say, I'm not going to date you until you have that level of confidence for me, right? That is an awesome way to have a relationship with somebody. Really, really good. And so if you do that and your family is still coming against you saying, you just can't marry young, you're too young to do that, you need to live your life, or you need to make more money, or you need to go to college, or you need to travel the world as a single individual, living a life of frivolous individualism and stupid hobby pursuit, then I think those are stupid reasons for your family to come at you telling you not to get married young. Because again, they haven't thought through, well, it reflects it's an incorrect value system. They're saying that education and travel and single life and living it up and experiences are more important than spending more time with your spouse, which is a bold-faced lie, presuming that the marriage is a good one. There is no better way I could have lived the past 2 years of my life than with my wife. I can confidently say that. I would have been miserable and living a less than the best life if I had waited to marry the woman I love and chosen to pursue my hobbies, travel, education, making more money instead of spending more time with her. That is an incorrect value system that many people sadly have, and it usually reflects the quality of their marriage. So people that say that, you should enjoy your singleness, man, live it up. You should travel the world and get an education, have a college experience, make more money, man. People who say stuff like that usually have terrible marriages if they're telling you to not get married and instead pursue those things, because they're saying marriage was the biggest mistake I made. I wish I would have spent more time single. That's literally what they're saying. They're saying you don't want what I have now. You want to enjoy what you've got now because it's better than what I have. Bold-faced advertising that. There's no better way. Let me just tell you, if you're a young believer who's done the work, you're looking to get married young and soon, according to God's design, I can tell you I'm a success story for you. Okay? I would have been miserable if I would have chosen to avoid marrying my spouse and put it off and wait to get to know her better, or have more college experience, or go to college, or make more money, or travel more, or live it up single, all that stuff, all that crap. I'm way happier now than I would be if I had chosen to do those things. So make of that what you will. You can choose whose advice you take. You can take the advice of the person who's sitting in an unhealthy marriage saying, don't get married, man, don't do it. You need to live it up now. Or you can take the advice of the guy who has a great marriage and wouldn't want to live any other way.
I'm proud that you have those type of relationships because they rushed to stop you from doing something that, statistically speaking, has a very low probability of ending in anything other than heartbreak and hurt, right?
Okay, that is, there's actually some truth to that. So I want to discuss this here. Most of the peer-reviewed studies that I've seen on people who get married young, I don't think this is early, but I think it's young. So I don't know that this is, well, he would know the literature, so I'm not going to question him. He's a doctor here. But most of the studies that I've seen on getting married young produce a higher likelihood for divorce than you would have if you get married, a little bit past your teen years. Now, the average age of first marriage for men in this country is 29 to 30 years old. And the average age of first marriage for women in this country is 27 years old. Now, in 1960, if you rewind, 60 years or so, 65 years, the average age of first marriage for women was 20, and the average age of first marriage for men was 23. So, and they had better marriage rates back then than we do now. And we also have lower, there's a lot of messed up stuff going on. But my point is the age which you get married, I don't think has to do with it. It's more of your approach and how you're doing it. If you're doing it wrong, you can expect failure. If you're doing it right, you can expect success. I don't think it necessarily has to do with the age at which you get married. Now, sadly, I think a lot of people who get married young sometimes do it in the wrong way. And that's why we have the divorce rate that they do increasing a little bit more. Because again, they're getting married young for the wrong reasons. But you don't have to get married young for the wrong reasons. You get married young for the right reasons. And I would say if you do, that's the best thing you could possibly do. It's the best thing you could possibly do. And so, I just want to make that little caveat there to discuss his mention of statistics. I don't have the studies off the top of my head, but I have looked at them in the past. And as of the most recent research and peer-reviewed articles that I've seen, what I told you was true. And if you want to see the source, go to homeschoolerponderings.blogspot.com. I make all my sources publicly available in the blog posts I do there. Just scroll down through the bottom, and you'll see hundreds of sources there that are backing up what I'm claiming. I'm not just making up statistics. The danger with statistics on the internet is people sometimes just make stuff up, and I'm not doing that. Like, I'm being honest here. I'm looking at the evidence, and not anecdotal evidence. I'm looking at empirical evidence, numbers, and being honest with you, like as to the best of my ability. So go check those sources if you want. They're publicly available. That's one of the things that I really like about podcasters is when they make their resources and their statistics and their sources publicly available. You've got to do that, or you could just be lying to somebody and they have no way of knowing.
Right.
So, I think I don't know. I think your friends are honorable is what I would say. Now, Does that make it any easier? Like, you know this in relationship counseling, like you always tell people, don't say something negative about that other person because they might stay together and they're never going to be able to forget what you said about their person, right?
Yes.
All right, so here we are. You're married.
Yeah.
Is it blissful and wonderful?
Vegas. Oh, yeah. It was awesome. We went to...
If he says that's going to change, I'm going to throw my monitor. Just kidding, I won't. But like, guys, we have enough people advertising that their marriage is horrible. Come on, man. Can we start presenting marriage like the golden treasure it is? I love my marriage. I love my wife. I say this all the time. She is the best way I could have possibly spent my time, not just from a spiritual standpoint, not just because I believe it was the narrow way that God had called me to, but because just how I feel about it. I mean, I would not be as happy if I had chosen to either wait to marry her or, had a long engagement or dating process or gotten married at the national average age of first marriage, like 30 years old instead of 24 when I did. I would be so much more miserable. And I would have married her earlier if I could have, if I would have met her and all that earlier. And so, I don't know. Don't go around, guys. Don't listen to people that go around telling you marriage is just this terrible thing because they're just saying they have a bad marriage. You want to take advice from somebody who is where you want to be, not from somebody who's shipwrecked on the way there. I mean, this is just common sense. Please don't take marriage advice from people who are discouraging you from getting married and saying it was a big mistake, because the problem is not with marriage, but their approach to it.
To Vegas and did it. It was just him and I, and which was awesome. Didn't have to worry about anything, And so yes, it was wonderful.
Have you reconnected with your friends and your family?
Yes. Family is a little bit still, it just feels a little forced, but I'm still I'm trying to close my anxiety loop with it. And then, with my friends, it's still, like I said, a little bit weird, but we're continuing to get together and everything. I do need to probably just talk with them a little bit coming up soon, just to make sure that our friendship is still good,
I think it would be really special for you to sit down with them and say, hey, I want to thank y'all for loving and caring about me so much that you were willing to risk our friendship to protect me. Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to handle this, I think. Like if somebody's warning you against getting married young or early, and you've done the work. Like, I'm talking to people who are doing the work and have done the right things to get married young in the right way. Like, there's a wrong way to get married young and there's a right way to get married young. Choose the right way. Please do, because again, there's nothing better. And if you do that and people are still trying to dissuade you from it, just let them know that, especially if it's close family, let them know that you're grateful for them looking out for you, and you're thankful that they care about you that much in order to risk hurting your feelings. Because I think that'll strengthen your connection with them. Now, if it's randos telling you not to get married young, water off a duck's back. Just ignore them. Okay, just ignore them. There's advice flying at you on the internet from a million freaking different directions nowadays. Just take the advice that's from the people where you want to be. Don't take the advice from the haters who, again, got shipwrecked on the way there. Because there's a right way to get married young. And if you don't believe me, well, first, I'm an example of that. I got married 5 years younger than the national age of first marriage, which I still think is old. So I got married young according to today's standards, but average or above average according to the 1960s standards. And so I don't know, but I would have gotten married earlier had I met my wife earlier, and I still would have been happy. You just got to have a plan. You've got to have a way of supporting your family. You've got to have tough conversations up front. You've got to spend a lot of intentional quality time with one another, not lengthwise, not like I've known this person 7 years and we've been dating for that whole time. I mean, like, the hours that you're spending it together don't need to be talking about the weather. You need to be having the conversations, the hard stuff. You need to be easily able to tell your partner that you're in it for the long haul and not leaving. And your partner needs to be able to do the same for you. Those are the green flags for getting married young. And so I hope you guys have kind of enjoyed this episode. I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. But you can see the skepticism on Dr. John's face here. And maybe many of you have that skepticism yourself, or probably not that. You're probably getting married young if you're listening to the show. You've seen people in your own life who have that skepticism. So, and maybe I'll do an episode on kind of how to handle that. But basically, I just wanted to just tell you today, if you're considering whether or not you should get married young, like, man, go for it. It is the best. If you're like me and you're called of God, like me, to be married, then, man, I think you should do it early. You should do it soon. You should not put it off. You should not procrastinate. You should not wait for A, B, or C number of years before you marry somebody, because years are not what enables you to know somebody. Hard conversations and intentional time are. So have the hard conversations, have the intentional time early, often, and then you won't have those problems blowing up your marriage tomorrow. So thank you guys for listening today. I hope that has helped you. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of call-in story here of this woman. I think she's going to do great as long as they've had those hard conversations again up front, and they're committed to each other, and they're both honestly telling each other that, and they both feel secure in one another's connection. Like, they both can say easily, like, my partner's not leaving and I'm not leaving, which I can, by the way, say about my wife and I. I'm confident she won't leave, and I'm confident I know I won't leave. And so I think as long as they're doing those things, they've got more time together now, man. They've got more time together now. That's just a wonderful thing. Who would not want that? As long as you've got a good marriage, who would not want more time with the beautiful treasure that God has entrusted to you? So thank you guys so much for listening today. I hope it's generated value for you. If it has, reach out and let me know what you thought of the episode through the link in the show notes. You can send me a personalized audio voice message. Actually, take that back. I said that out of habit. That's not there anymore. send me a voice message on Instagram and Facebook. I'd love to hear from you there and maybe feel more connected to you as an audience member to make the podcasting system two-way. You can also follow the Restoring Rapport podcast on Instagram and social media and Facebook if you're interested in the content we post there as well. So thank you guys so much for listening today, and I will talk to you all next time.